How's it going, everyone? My name is George, and today we're going to continue our Spider Man series with The Amazing Spider Man, the first of the movies directed by Mark Webb and starring Andrew Garfield. And this was greenlit right after Sony canceled Spider Man 4. Basically, what happened there was that Raimi wanted Spider Man 4 to go a certain way, and him and Sony just kept having differences about it, and every script that Raimi saw for Spider-Man 4 he just didn't like, and because he felt let down by how Spider-Man 3 went, he wanted to make Spider-Man 4 a great movie, not just a good movie, a great movie, and because of that, the film got canceled and they decided to reboot. Sony had the reboot as a plan B just in case things didn't go well with Spider-Man 4. And that kind of explains why the reboot came out 2 years after Spider-Man 4 got canceled, and basically we got the Amazing Spider-Man directed by Mark Webb, and Andrew Garfield is now playing Spider-Man. Emma Stone, Martin Sheen, Sally Field, Reese Ifans, Dennis Leary join the cast as well, and this is essentially the origin story again, but with different takes. There's no Mary Jane and Harry. Gwen Stacy is the love interest this time. There's more of a focus on Peter Parker learning more about his parents. Dr. Connors and the Lizard are more in the mix this time. While Oscorp is around, Norman Osborn isn't, but he's being mentioned. Peter Parker's still in high school. So, The Amazing Spider-Man is an interesting movie for me. Basically, the Andrew Garfield movies, it's pretty funny. When it comes to the Spider-Man movies, Tobey Maguire was my childhood Spider-Man, Andrew Garfield was my high school Spider-Man, and Tom Holland is my college years and beyond Spider-Man. So, this film came out when I was in high school, and I remember when I saw it in theaters, it was the first and only Spider-Man movie I ever saw in 3D. For those of you who remember, 3D was pretty popular in the early 2010s from 2012 to, not 2012, 2010 to 2012, maybe 2013, I can't remember. But I remember it was very popular, and The Amazing Spider-Man was in 3D. And there were certain movies that 3D worked for. I remember I saw Transformers Dark of the Moon in 3D a year ago. The 3D was very good in that film. The 3D for like anime movies, I know anime movies were pretty popular in 3D, were fine, but nothing spectacular. The Amazing Spider-Man, I remember, looked really good in 3D. It was really, it was quite the theater experience, especially with it being in 3D. So the movie has a special place in my heart, and I've rewatched it a few times the last couple years. I remember after The Amazing Spider-Man 2, I was very hesitant to go back and revisit this film, and I'll get into more about The Amazing Spider-Man 2 when I review that film later in the week. But I was very hesitant revisiting this film. And I revisited it again like the last few years, and I've come to the conclusion with The Amazing Spider-Man that it's a good movie with great performances, but it had the potential to be greater. And I'm going to explain why. As I said, the performances are great in this film. Andrew Garfield, I thought, was great as Spider Man and Peter Parker, where I think Tobey was better as Peter Parker than he was Spider Man, even though he was great at both. I think Andrew's better at Spider Man than being Peter Parker. He's more quippy. The suit, I don't. It's not that I hate the suit. It just reminds me of a basketball, and like it looks fine for like the first suit made. And I'm glad that the Amazing Spider-Man 2 upgraded the suit. So the suit's fine, but it's kind of my least favorite live action Spider-Man suit so far. But I don't hate the suit. He has the web shooters this time. I know Toby Spider-Man had the organic, but this time Peter has the web shooters. So for those who were going after Toby's for not having the web shooters, you got your web shooters in this film. Emma Stone as Gwen Stacy, I really liked her performance. I thought she was great. And I like the chemistry between Andrew Garfield and Gwen Stacy, not Gwen Stacy, Emma Stone, like their chemistry together when they're playing Peter Parker and Gwen Stacy. One of the things that I feel like the Amazing Spider-Man got right over Raimi's films, as much as I love Raimi's films, especially Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2, but one thing that I think was better was the relationship between Peter and Gwen in these films over the relationship between Peter and Mary Jane in the Raimi films. I'm not saying like the relationship is bad, but there are obviously more bumps and bruises and certain decisions in the relationship that really cause some problems. I'm not saying everything's perfect in this relationship between Peter and Gwen, but like you get the feeling that there's more care between the both of them, at least on Gwen Stacy's part. Like Gwen Stacy, I feel like cares more for Peter in the Mark Webb films than I feel like sometimes Mary Jane in the Raimi films cared for Peter, and I do believe she cared for Peter, but sometimes it just never landed, we should say. But anyways, back to the performances. Martin Sheen and Sally Field, I think, were really good as Uncle Ben and Aunt May. The one thing I will say when it comes to Martin Sheen's Uncle Ben is while there are similarities between this film and Spider Man 2002, because you get bit by the spider, Uncle Ben does get shot again, he's trying to find the burglar. For some reason, they were hesitant to say with great power comes great responsibility. And it's like, that one similarity was not going to hurt the film. I mean, what Uncle Ben says that's kind of similar to it is fine, but I feel like it could have been more impactful if he just said, with great power comes great responsibility. Dennis Leary plays Captain George Stacy in this film, and he's fine, but the way they handled the character of Captain Stacy felt weird to me because where all the other characters so far feel comic book accurate in this film, it's Captain Stacy that feels the most off because in the comics and the animated shows that he's been in, Captain Stacy is usually portrayed as the one police officer, the one cop that trusts Spider-Man even when Spider-Man's being framed. He's one of Spider-Man's biggest allies in law enforcement. And in this film, he right away does not trust Spider-Man. He puts a warrant for his arrest. And there's tension between Peter and Captain Stacy. And on one hand, it just feels off because this is not the Captain Stacy that I'm used to. But at the same time, it adds more later in the film when Peter and Captain Stacy finally work together to stop the Lizard's plan at the end of the film. And when, spoiler, like all my other Spider-Man movie reviews, for those of you who haven't seen this film, when Captain Stacy is dying, in his dying words, he tells Peter that he was wrong about him and that he really is a hero and he'll do great things for this city. So the twist was interesting, but it kind of fell off. Now, Reese Ifans is the more interesting performance for me. I thought he was a very good Dr. Connors. His lizard wasn't bad. The lizard design has kind of grown on me after rewatching the film. I've never been crazy about the design, even when I really liked this movie back when it first came out. So the design's kind of grown on me. My problem with the lizard was it felt like there was a wasted potential. And that wasted potential was the motivations, the like plot, the arc for him, and plan. So in the comics, the lizard wants Dr. Connors wants to regrow his arm. And in this film, he's basically it seems like he's doing it just to be a guinea pig for a cure to help Norman Osborn. Norman Osborn's not in this film, but he's always being brought up as dying and this cure needs to work for him. And it just feels like a lot of the things that are key to the Lizard's character, his family, his wife, his son, are taken out of this film. It's only in a deleted scene we see Dr. Connor's son. And usually, like, I know I'm comparing to the Raimi films again, but similar to like how the villains were portrayed in the Raimi films, the Lizard has always been a sympathetic villain, and he felt like the least sympathetic at times. And his plot of turning everyone into lizards to erase human weakness just felt very off, and was the worst plot of any villain to me. And that's a shame because I've been looking forward to seeing the Lizard on the big screen. And look, I enjoyed the Lizard fight sequences between him and Spider Man. I had no problem with the Lizard voice that they used. I actually thought it was pretty cool. And like I said, the design has grown on me. So, like, I don't have a lot of problems with the, as many problems with the Lizard as it sounds like, but it just feels like there was a wasted potential. And like I said, I've been looking forward to seeing this character since when Spider-Man 4 was like first announced back in like late 2007 or around 2008, and they were toying with the idea of the Lizard. Like I remember in 2008, 2009, there was that community of fake Spider-Man 4 trailers that had either Lizard and or Carnage as the main villains, and I know that's not what Raimi was going for, but I remember people were saying, "Hey, maybe the Lizard will be the next bad guy." And Sony had him for Amazing Spider-Man, and I think that's what got people hyped, despite people thinking at the time it was too soon to do a reboot. So I was kind of disappointed with that, and that's really my main problem with the Amazing Spider-Man. As much as I like this movie, is there was some wasted potential at times. I think part of that was spending too long on the origin story, and I get it. Spider-Man's origin is key, but for me, I feel like they could have done like an opening credits montage retelling the origin story right away and getting right to him being Spider-Man, and maybe have like the beginning like he's wanted by the police because the police don't trust him. He learns about his parents, arc still continues, and he meets Dr. Connors and he helps Dr. Connors while being Spider-Man. I don't know, I just feel like there could have been more that if they just cut out or like found a way to shorten the origin story part, maybe we could have done more with the Lizard and all the other stuff. Now, this film, like the way the film was marketed, I remember like they made it seem like it was going to be a darker film, and at times it feels like a darker Spider-Man story, but similar to the Raimi films, it still finds that good balance of light and dark moments. There is humor in this film, and the jokes still hold up. And James Horner's score in this film, while it's not Danny Elfman's score, which I prefer, I like James Horner's score. I like it a lot. It sounds very inspiring, and inspires people to like do the right thing, and it really fits into that theme of Spider-Man of with great power comes great responsibility, and kind of what Uncle Ben was saying that wasn't exactly with great power comes great responsibility. The other thing that kind of bugged me with the Amazing Spider-Man is, well, the thing is there's two plot lines that aren't finished in this film, and one of them I forgive because it is covered in the next film, so which is the parents arc about Peter learning more about his parents, and that continues into Amazing Spider-Man 2, so I can forgive the film for not addressing that. The one that's always kind of left me frustrated is they never addressed Peter never finding Uncle Ben's killer. And you can make the case that, well, they tried doing something new, and there were some things that they did new that I appreciated, like no wrestling match. I thought it was a pretty neat idea to have the Easter egg be, instead of fighting in a wrestling match before Uncle Ben's shot, when he's looking for Uncle Ben's killer, he drops down into a ring and gets the gets the inspiration of making a mask to hide his identity in that gym. But the fact that he never found Ben's killer, or it's never really addressed later on in the film, like it literally went from him finding people that looked like Uncle Ben's killer to right away getting to the Lizard, and they never address him never finding the killer in the film, or not, I don't even think in the next movie. Like it's never addressed, and it's always kind of bugged me. I don't know. Like there's some things that they did new that I do like and thought were pretty interesting twists, but just not finding Uncle Ben's killer has, I don't know, personally bugged me. Maybe that's just a personal annoyance for me, but yeah, I really did like this film, but I feel like it just held itself back. And I get it. They had to get a reboot done right away because in their mind they lose the rights to Marvel. So for a reboot that I wouldn't say was rushed, but like they had to get out right away, I think they did a good job. Like I said, this film has great performances, a very good score. The action was very good, but like I said, they were just between the lizard being off on the lizard with some things and his motivation and plan being bad and just like not having enough time to do some of the other stuff. Like I felt like they spent too much time on certain stuff they didn't need to spend a lot of time on. It held the film back. But I'm glad I decided to rewatch this movie again, even before the No Way Home stuff was coming out, because it really is a good movie. It just holds itself back. And I think I've learned to appreciate this film and Spider-Man 3 a lot more, not just because I feel like they've gotten better over time when you find more stuff about them, but how the next film turned out, The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and we'll get into that later in the week. But my final grade for The Amazing Spider-Man is a B. I do prefer Spider-Man 3 slightly more over this, that's why it does have a lower grade, but up to this point, I've liked all the Spider-Man movies. That's gonna change when we get to the next film. I'm just gonna give you that hint right now. But yes, I do give this film a B, and I do recommend you guys give it another go. I feel like it has gotten better over time, even though there's certain things that you're like, oh, that's so early 2010s or that's so 2012. But it's a nice little thing to get back into. But yeah, The Amazing Spider-Man. What you guys think about it? Do you prefer it over Raimi's films and the MCU films? I haven't gotten into those yet. That'll be next week. But yeah, what do you think about The Amazing Spider-Man? Do you love it? Do you hate it? Do you think it's underrated? Do you think it's overrated? Comment below and let me know. And I want to thank you guys for watching. Please like and subscribe already if you haven't. Please share this with someone that's a big Spider-Man fan, especially this time Andrew Garfield Spider-Man. And oh yeah, I do want to say I am looking forward to seeing what they do with the lizard in No Way Home. Like the design looks a little bit better, I will say that. But yes, back to my ending. I hope to see you guys real soon. And stay tuned for The Amazing Spider-Man 2 later this week. That will be an interesting one, I will say, because like I said, I've been pretty positive up to this point. Take care, everyone.